Welcome back to another episode, baby, of Live in 5. Episode number 59, Auzzo. No guests this week, just going with the boys. We're going with the steady Eddie Captain and yours truly, Jay Swish, reporting live from North Scottsdale, Arizona. Auzzo tapping in from outside of Rifle, Colorado. We'll get into that in a little bit here, but he looks minty. He's got his camo hat on. I think he's going hunting this week, folks. So don't call it a comeback. Let's see what he can get when he comes back to Minnesota. So we are always brought to you by Butter Golf. Butter Golf is the official lifestyle and apparel brand over here at Live in 5, as well as Mini Movers. Mini Movers is the official moving company of Live in 5. If you need something moved, if you need something packed, again, if you're moving in Minnesota, if you're moving in North Dakota or Wisconsin, these fellas will get you dialed in. Give the captain a call or go to minimovers.com to get a free quote today. Get at them on socials, on X and Instagram. They will get you dialed in. As we always do, Auzzo, we plug our YouTube page. That is at Live in 5 2024. So please go like that, subscribe, watch the fellas, look at our chins through the cam at YouTube. That is at Live in 5 2024. You can see me right now wearing a Chad Ocho Cinco jersey. And Auzzo, obviously, sporting that Forks camo hat that'll be on sale just shortly as we get into the hockey season. Lastly, Auzzo, before we get into the weekend recap and the week, well, I guess look ahead into the weekend, we do our ad read from Gladiator Therapeutics. Dr. George, who we had on earlier this year, is selling a product that I was actually talking to Nick Bukestad outside of the Utah locker room. He's dealing with a upper body injury, and he's using Gladiator Therapeutics. Just get started on his program. He's wearing it when he's sleeping. Said he's feeling a little bit better. He said he's going to be coming back here soon. So he's on the road trip this year or this week with Utah. They're out in New York City. So he's feeling good. He's going to be back, but he's actually using these. He's a friend of Dr. George's. So we'll see if it works for Bukey. He's a good dude. He's a gopher, but he's a good dude. So the ad read is, are you tired of dealing with chronic aches and pains or neurological conditions? Gladiator Therapeutics offers a revolutionary solution using quantum physics to improve your health. Our devices use patented technology to emit far infrared light, stimulating cellular processes without heat. This can reduce inflammation, speed up healing, and enhance mobility. Clinical trials show impressive results, including a 400% increase in survivability in stem cells, accelerated wound healing up to 68% faster, and significant improvements in Parkinson's disease models. Wearable 24/7 without power, our devices can be a game changer. Visit www.gladiatortherapeutics.com/contact _DRGM/ to learn more and start your journey to better health today. Auzzo, let's get to you right away, fella. You're battling no service. You're somewhere outside of Rifle, Colorado. Now, I think I have an idea what you're getting up to, but what the hell are you doing out there? How did you get out there, first of all? Did you drive or did you fly? Or did you fly and then drive? Talk to me on that front, baby. What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm actually on an elk hunting trip with my dad, my brother, and another guy named Brian from Grand Forks. So we've got this spot right out. It's like in the western side of Colorado, kind of smack dab in the middle, in the Rockies. And yeah, we've got a shack to stay in. We're going to go stay in that tomorrow. And then Saturday's the opener. So we're kind of here like sighting in the guns and scouting like where the elk are going to be. And I drove out here. Actually, it was a fucking haul of a drive. Takes so long, but we got to bring the trailer. We got to bring, all of our equipment, the guns and everything. It just doesn't make sense to fly. So we drove out here, and we'll be out here till next week. So I'll be here for quite a while, but hopefully we get lucky, Jordo. If we shoot a couple the first day, which probably isn't likely, but it could happen. If it happens, we get to go home early. So we're out here to get some meat, get some antlers. We're trying to shoot a bull elk. So last time I came out here, Jordo, I shot a black bear out of the mountain. It was incredible. It was exhilarating. The thing got up right when I went to go retrieve it, about 50 yards away from me. Fucking got up, stood up. I thought it was down. It wasn't. And I actually had to pull up this gun, which is a fucking sniper rifle. Basically, you're not supposed to shoot it standing up, Jordo. And I shot it, came back, hit my eye. My eye was bleeding. I was conkied. But it's a hell of a memory, and I'm excited to make more. That's basically why you go hunting. Like, it's not really It is fun in its own right, but it's hard, but it creates a story and good memories.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously hanging out with your dad, brothers, that's got to be a hell of a time. But I want to ask you about that. When was that the last time you did that? And did you get like scope fucked, or what caused the conky there? Was it just a kickback from it?
Yeah, it's the kickback. So you're supposed to have it, planted on your shoulder so it doesn't hit your eye, when you're looking through it.
Yep.
And when you're standing, and obviously when a bear just stands up 50 yards away from you, you start to panic a little bit. You're like, holy shit, this thing just got up. It's pissed off. I don't know what it's going to do. So I wasn't even thinking about the recoil and the scope. It's called scoping yourself.
Yep.
So yeah, the scope came back. It bloodied me up. I actually had a headache after, it was like taking a punch to the face, almost like a sucker punch to the face. And you're just not expecting it.
Yeah, I've had that happen too when I've just been out in kind of the sticks of Larimore. We've talked about Clint Borby on this show before, just kind of, pulling up and blowing some shit up, whether it's just, random things in a field, and you get that kickback. And I've been scope fucked before. I don't know to that level, but even just like on a shotgun, you got to be dialed in, because I got cut open like right on my eye too. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to look like a pussy here, but,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what I'm doing when I'm holding that thing. But your dad is a big bow hunter. He's a big hunter in general. So this mission, Auzzo, is using a gun. It's not a bow, correct?
No, it's a rifle. And most people, if you're a hunter, you might not believe me when I say this, but I shot my bear at 550 yards, and a lot of these elk we see, they're about 700 to 800 yards away, and we can't hit them. These guns, it's a 308 Lazzaroni Warbird, it's called. It's basically what Chris Kyle uses. You can't buy it. It's not stock, Jordan. You can't just grab it off the shelf and walk out of the store with it. You got to find a guy who actually builds these, because they're all custom made. And I mean, I don't know what my dad paid for his, but I'm guessing somewhere around like $10,000. Like, this is a gun he bought a while ago, and it's going to be the nicest gun he's ever going to have, and it'll last a lifetime.
So you're out there, Auzzo, and do you stay the night out there in the shack and just kind of hang out, no service? What do you eat? Do you pack some shit like sandwiches on the way, and then you hope to get an elk, and then if you fucking take something down, you haul that big bastard back? Like, talk to me. Like, what are you doing during the nights? Are you boozing a little bit, or are you just kind of hanging out and cooking some shit up? Like, what are you eating out there?
Yeah, so you don't have we drive about an hour into the mountain from the closest town. So you stay in the shack. There's no service there. It's actually kind of nice. How often do you not have service on your phone, Jordan, for like 5 straight days? You don't get it very often this day and age. So it is kind of light, and it's a nice little reset. It's a refresher. But we sit there, we grocery shop before. We got a grill out there. We got a generator. So we basically just cook every lunch, every dinner. The plan is, you go there, you hunt in the morning right before the sun comes up. Right when it comes up, you don't see anything, you come back down, and then throughout the whole day, you're kind of just in limbo. You sit around, we got a pellet gun there. I'll probably just walk up and down some mountains, go hiking a little bit, do some of that stuff, read books, eat lunch, and then you wait until the sun starts going down, and then you go back to a spot, because the elk really don't move unless the sun is coming up or it's going down and it's getting dark. They're not standing out in the open during the day most of the time. Like, if you go to Estes, they're out there the whole day because they're almost like pets at that point. But these are wild elk. They're smart. They hide in the trees. So, yeah, you sit out there at nights after the night hunt. You get back, you make a nice dinner. Like, it's usually like potatoes and meat, on the grill. And you eat it. You play dice. You play cards. And you have a couple drinks, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice little reset. You mentioned no service, and let alone just not even opening up an application that you just find yourself just scrolling mindlessly all day. That sounds like it's just a nice little reset, a nice little mid-year reset, Auzzo. But I wanted to ask you, like, what are the chances of you shooting an elk out there? Like, is it 50-50? Does it totally depend? Is it just who fucking knows? You go out there and you kind of pick a spot where they might be, and we'll go back there, or there are different tactics you're using to kind of corner them into an area? Like, talk to me on like the game plan, because there is a little skill obviously in hunting and coming up with, the game plan that's going to work for the crew.
Yeah, no, I mean, the odds, to be honest, are not great. Like, I think the odds, if you go elk hunting, it's almost like, I don't know what it is, to be honest, but it's like 10 to 20%. Not too many guys actually come out successful. Um, but you can be good. Like you said, there's a skill to it. And I'm with my dad, who's been going for about 20 years now. He knows kind of where they're going to be, where they're coming out, how to track them a little bit. Like, you try to find trails, try to find where they're going to end up at night, try kind of grazing and eating the grass and stuff. So you try to find those areas. And it's usually, the harder you're willing to work, the better chances you're going to have. So, like, the higher you're able to climb up the mountain and see more, or go into the mountain more where they might not think other, because these elk are smart. People hunt them. They know hunters are out there. Like, they don't want to be seen walking around during the daylight. So there's not, chances are we're not going to get lucky. But my dad, his percentage, I think, like, he's only not shot an elk, someone in the camp at least, probably like 3 or 4 years out of these 20 he's went. So he's got a pretty good track record. So I'm just fortunate to be with a guy like that. Like, if it was you and me and Dewey and Tom going out there, like, I don't think there's any fucking way we get anything.
No, we got a better chance of probably shooting ourselves than shooting an elk. You know what I mean? Just poor dipshits out there. So when you talk about a night fight and you talk about going up back out there, is that obviously as the sun is setting, because it could probably get a little spooky once it gets dark out there. And when you're setting up camp and you're setting up, different things throughout the night, are you a little scared out there? Or, I mean, you got guns, and you got the boys, but it's like, are you a little bit, a little bit
100%.
more aware? That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
are you a little bit more aware? And I don't know if you want to be taking boomers out there or smoking dope or drinking too much, because shit might hit the fan and all of a sudden, you got Dewey the bear from Semi-Pro just barking at your neck,
No, you're definitely thinking about it. And honestly, I'm not, I'm thinking mountain lion or bear. I don't want to come across either one of those. And when it's dark, you don't know. I'll tell you a little funny story. Last time I went, we were, you don't know where the other guys in camp kind of go. I mean, you have an idea, but you don't know. And you don't know if they came down already and they're at camp or not. So my dad and I go to the spot. We don't see anything. We come down because it's dark. It's basically pitch black. We got a flashlight out. We're walking, and you can kind of hear everything, and you're aware. And all of a sudden, we hear something barreling down the mountain, like, and I mean, I'm not kidding you. Like, I'm kind of going off my dad. So, like, if I feel or sense that he's got a little fear in him, that's when I'm panicking. But if he's calm, I'm like, okay, like, he knows more. Well, we start hearing this, and it starts getting closer, this noise. And I'm not kidding you. I look at my dad, and it looks like he's panicking. He's like, he gets behind, he's like, get behind a tree. So we get behind a tree, and he cocks his gun a little bit, and he's like, holy shit, what is this coming at us? So we start yelling, and then all of a sudden, we're like, Brian, who is that? And all of a sudden, Brian yells back like, hey, it's me. So, like, I fucking thought it was a bear coming down on us, and I was like, this might be it. I mean, my dad's cocking the gun, like, holy shit, we're in one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, freeze, gopher. You're just like, oh my god, it's like the scene out of Wedding Crashers when Sack just pinballs Jeremy and shoots him in the ass. It's like, okay, boys, a little friendly fire there, but fire in the hole. But yeah, man, that sounds crazy. That would be something cool to do. I would definitely, one day like to get up to something like that. I haven't in hockey season, especially when you're playing. You can't really hunt it.
Yeah, you can't.
In terms of doing anything, not like wild game or even hunting just white-tailed deer. So that's cool. You're doing that, man. That's going to be cool. You're going to be off the grid hanging out. But before we get into, I guess, my week recap, Auzzo over in Utah, we'll save that just before we get into some NHL talk. I wanted to touch on just the state of Sioux Hockey. Obviously, we had Jake Schmaltz on the other week. They have high hopes, as they do every year with the team. We're good buddies with Dane Jackson and the whole coaching staff, essentially, with Dylan Simpson being a golf trip guy.
Mm-hmm.
Are we worried that we just got fucked up by Augustana? Like, we got taken the screws to by essentially a team that's been D1 for 2 years? Or are we kind of chalking this up to similar to when Bemidji maybe came in 2014, 2015, our first weekend, you being a freshman, my sophomore year, and we got beat like 5-1, and that was actually regular season play. So are we panicking about this exhibition game against Augustana, or is it just a throwaway game up in Rochester? Talk to me on this, Cap.
Yeah, I don't know your thoughts, Jordo, but I'm always a guy when it comes to Sioux hockey, especially because I know, some of the Dave Hackstall years. Now I know Bubs is the coach, but Dave Hackstall years, they started out slow every year, and they made the Frozen Four every year. So I'm not a guy who panics. I don't panic at all, especially when I look at this roster, Jordo. They got 10 newcomers. I think 9 of them are freshmen. And they got 5 more sophomores. We're going to need a lot out of these guys. And as you know, stepping into college hockey ain't easy. So I'm not panicking yet. I'd like to see these guys take steps every weekend. But at the same time, Jordo, if this was mid-season, I'd almost feel better about it because this is the first game at the Ralph. And you get taken down 4-1, and I watched some of it. It didn't even look like, it was one of those games where you're outplaying them and we lost. It was like, we just kind of fucking lost the game. It was like, I mean, they outplayed us a little bit, and there's better, which is scary. And it's the first game of the season, which you should be flying. And do I compare it to that Bemidji game you were talking about, Jordo? Yes, I do. But at the same time, I'm not going to disrespect Bemidji like that because Bemidji's fucking tough to play. And this Augustana team, I don't know if there's a kid on the team, nothing against the players on that team, but I don't think there's a kid on that team that would make the starting lineup or the roster for the UND Fighting Sioux. I just don't think it happens. So it's a little worrisome.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you in terms of what you said there. That's the cold hard truth. None of those kids on Augustana would be sniffing UND.
No.
They wouldn't be recruited. Even if they were good enough after their junior year, they wouldn't have been recruited anyways. And that's just calling a spade a spade. It's North Dakota versus an up-and-coming team. Now, one day, maybe they'll get there. But, yeah, I was just looking at that game, Auzzo, and, I didn't watch the game at all in terms of, tuning into it. I just was following along on the box score. But as you make a great point, that was the big thing we were talking about in our group chat was like, is that comparable to losing to Bemidji? And Bemidji was always a tough weekend. That was one of those weekends you had circling like, Jesus Christ, we're going into the Beaver Trap. It's going to be a home and home. We know Jax is going to come around after Thursday practice and say this old thing that he does every year. The Grand Forks Herald should read on Sunday morning, Sioux Shave Beaver. But yeah, man, I just, and those weekends would always be a grind, whether we tie and beat them or we split with them. But I got the call, obviously, from our good buddy after the game, after he was on the suite level watching the game. As a passionate UND guy he is, he works for the university, Colton Sanderson. And I think he got off the line with you just before I got to him. So it was always hilarious listening to an emotional Dusky on the line. And we don't have to get into everything was said because that is a private conversation. But it's always so funny listening to Dust because essentially, folks, the world is always ending with the passionate Sioux fans. And it's just like, the world's ending. We suck, this and that. But you know what? I'm not going to put too much stock into it. I'm not going to overreact. Do I think it's embarrassing? Absolutely. Am I a little worried going into this weekend with Providence, especially with all the alumni being back there, most of the guys? Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little fucking nervous, Ozzy, because they can't embarrass the guys that came before them. I know it doesn't matter about us, but a lot of UND hockey is about tradition. It's about something bigger than you competing for not only the fan base, but the guys that came before you. So, man, if they play like that against Providence and then they go into Mankato and then they get into this gauntlet with BU, like, boys, like that could be quick. That could be a slippery slope. So I hope they didn't lose their confidence too much is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I don't think they did. I know when you're in that situation, Jordo, and you lose a game like that, just like when we lost to Bemidji, yeah, you got spanked on the ass. You're a little embarrassed. You don't want to show your face on campus. But at the same time, you're like, what, fuck these guys. I know what we got in this locker room. We've got a good team. We're all good players. We're going to be okay. But when you're standing on our side right now, when you're the fan, it is kind of fun. I know I'm not telling them to panic or anything. I don't want them to do that. But it is kind of fun to panic a little bit as a fan and just go a little off the rails and go over the top sometimes because that's what you do as a fan. And especially when you've had a couple beers and we're talking after the game like that, you're going to go a little over the top. You're going to get a little scared. But at the end of the day, I think these guys are okay. You can't look into this. It's an exhibition match. It wasn't even the start of the season. Plenty of hockey left. It doesn't even count towards the pairwise, which is nice. And you know what? Maybe Augustana ends up being a good team this year too. Garrett Raboyne, the head coach of that team, I know he's got some stuff. Guys like him. He's obviously a good coach, so I don't want to slight them in any bit, but at the same time, the players that UND is getting, there's really no excuses to lose that game.
Yeah, and maybe they just had a little bit of the ooh, ah, wow, the Palace of Pain with 10,000 odd people in here. I know it's not sold out tonight, but fuck, look around, boys. And maybe you got a little just lost in the lights, Auzzo, and maybe you had a couple girls at the game, and maybe there was high expectations. And Augustana comes in, they're loose, they're playing, just basically the biggest game of their lives. They're seeing it even as an exhibition game. I mean, not to discredit them at all, but that will probably be their biggest win of the year against North Dakota, and especially if North Dakota is a top 10 team like we think they are, Ozzy. So I was just curious, and I wanted to pick your brain on that front. Hilarious little thing happened today with the UND hockey team that happens like once a year. It either happens with an assistant coach or Patty Swanson, a good man, the hockey operations legend he is over there. But I got a text today, and it was like 3 different texts. It was going over from Dylan Simpson, who runs, obviously, the D-Corps there. He was going over Providence faceoffs, and he must have typed in Jordan Schmaltz instead of Jake Schmaltz. So I was in the team group chat, and they were looking at Providence's faceoffs, and I just typed back. I said, hey, they like to run D down the wall, and I just signed it the Peoples with 2 phones. And so I got kicked out of the group chat immediately after that, but it happens like once a year. It's so funny. It's all time. And then Simmer gave me a text. He's like, good response. They do like to go D down the wall. So I always get a kick of that. It happens all the time. So, yeah. I just wanted to to kind of just shout that out.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny. So, Auzzo, I wanted to get into some National Hockey League news. Obviously, I was in the chin of a place you played in the easy come, hard to leave ECHL with the Grizzlies over there in Salt Lake City, Utah, my friend. I have a lot of thoughts, and I might just go on a little bit of a rant, but jump in whenever you want.
Let's get the breakdown.
Yeah, so I get there, and listen, you're a guy that lived there, but so just make sure this checks out as I go. So we land there on Monday, and obviously that's the 7th, the day before the 8th, the first inaugural game of the Utah Hockey Club's historic season, their first season. And I land there, and the airport's unbelievable, by the way. It's a hub. It's a Delta
newly done,
hub.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible, like a place that you would love to fly out of. And we land, we go downtown, and just my biggest observation was staying at the Little America. So there's like the Grand, and then there's like the Little Grand or whatever. So it's like the auxiliary gym or the taxi squad of the nicer hotel. The Grand's like a 5-star. This place is like a 3-diamond. So I'm staying over there in the stabbing cabin at Little America. Nikki was too cheap to dust off the Amex. So I'm staying over there, and we're hanging out. And Coach Dar, she's in town. So we both have rooms over there. And my dad's got a rate at the Holiday Inn because he's an IHG guy. So they drop us off. Fuzzy picks us up. Kylie's in the car. And we're just like looking around. I'm like, Jesus, like, it looks like Dukes from Semi-Pro is like times 100 out here. Like, I didn't realize there was so many homeless people and how high they were. I mean, I must have seen, I'm not kidding, Ozzy, 15 dirty hippies on Main Street smoking crack out of like an old Red Bull can. You know how you used to get high back in the day where you'd go the old Coke can, the aluminum can, you poke a hole in it, and you'd suck out of it and you get all those fumes in you. So I saw probably at least 15 crackheads over the 3 days smoking out of an aluminum can. Now, there was one nice area down there with some shops. I don't know, it was like a mall area. But I cruised around, and it kind of gave me Des Moines, Iowa vibes. It gave me Colorado Springs vibes. It's Indianapolis, like a sleepy Midwestern town, downtown, with some mountains around it. Now, where Nick lives, in and around that Holiday area, that Sugar House area, there's some nice pockets over there, okay? It's decent. But in terms of the downtown right now, it's not perfect. So that leads into the game, and obviously the game was incredible. It was insane. There were so many fans. The Shabuzi before, that guy that sings the bar song, everybody at the bar getting tipsy. He was outside playing before the game. They had a blue carpet. I think he played that song 3 times. We went over to STK, which is a good, juicy spot right across the street. And I actually ran into a Sioux fan, a Grand Forks guy sitting on the patio. I shook up with him. I forget his name, but he's a friend of the show. So shout out to that fella. As you know, there's always Sioux fans everywhere. They're going to see a Sioux jersey, whatever arena you're at in the world. So we do that before the game. I go on NHL Network with JD, snap it around. My tan was looking unbelievable. We get into the rink. Now, this is where it gets good, Ozzy. The fans, they're actually pretty crazy. It was a playoff-like atmosphere. They were into it. I know the Jazz fans are crazy, but they were loud as expected. It's opening night. But I do think that'll carry on, and they had the rally towels out. It had a playoff-like feel. Like, it was It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know how many
It
Utah
felt like
Jazz.
that through the TV.
Yeah, like I don't know how many Utah Jazz games you went to, Auzzo, but apparently they're loud as hell. Does that check out? Did you go to any of those games?
Yeah, I went to a few, and those fans are like, I mean, I think it goes into what you said, Jordan. I think, when I did break it down, I kind of said, I don't know if it's the best spot for a young guy, but if you're an older guy with a family, it's not bad because they do have those nice areas closer to Park City out in that area a little bit with nice neighborhoods, good schools. So I think that area is fine for those older guys. But yeah, I think some of those lower end people living down probably where I lived, honestly, in Utah, in Salt Lake City, those are the fans you want going to the games though, because they're fucking crazy. I mean, I don't know if you saw, like, they sold $120,000 worth of beer. Like, these fans
Right.
want to get drunk, they want to have a good time, and it's like I said, watching it on TV, it was like it felt like we were watching playoffs. Like every missed shot was like, oh, from the whole
Yeah.
fan. Like they were all watching the game.
Yeah, they were. And the funny thing is those beers are 3% too. So you really got to work for your buzz. And I just think it's so junior prom and JV of like we're going off of rules that were like 200 years old. Like, why, as a 31-year-old, are you going to make me hike up to the 5th level to get a tequila? Now, when I go into the one spot to the Casamigos bar where I can get a tequila, I have to show my ID, which is fine. I have to show it again. Okay, a little soft. Get my tequila. You can't get a double, and you have to stay in the confinements of that area, and I can't bring it to my seat. So I have to absolutely house that drink. So what I did, Ozzy, is me and my sister just ended up getting our drinks, and we just basically just chugged them within 10 seconds and then left. Like, it was like, what is the point of that? You're actually getting me drunker quicker.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't I take
Yeah.
my mixed drink to my seat? It's just like, and the rules that you said about, remember the chips would always stack up because you always have to order food.
Did you have to do that?
Yeah, we were at dinner,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
It's
asked for my
insane.
I asked for my second glass of wine. I only had 2 drinks because it's actually hard to get drunk there. And I had my second drink, and they're like, "Well, you have to order something with that." I'm like, "Well, we just ordered everything family style. I guess we'll go to dessert." Or like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine." Like, what is this? It's like it's so ticky tacky.
Yeah, it's insane, and like you said, those rules are so old. They really make you work for it. They make you work for it. You got to get creative, and if you don't want to get buckled, you got to work for it. It doesn't come easy, but it's just so ridiculous. Like they're so old, and one of the funniest parts is Mormons technically can't have caffeine either, but they're like the biggest stakeholder in Coca-Cola, which is just caffeinated drinks. So it's like,
Yep.
what you guys are fucking posers, anyways. Just let me have a double.
Yeah, I know, it's hilarious too. You see like those soda stands all around town because you can have caffeine, but you can't have hot caffeine. That's the thing. So they have these soda stands all over town. So these people get like sodas loaded with like vanilla, like a Starbucks order. So you get like a vanilla Coke with 3 pumps of vanilla and some little caramel in it. It's like all these people are going to get diabetes. Just let them have some caffeine on a hot. Let them have a hot tea. Let them have a coffee. But I'll tell you what, Ozzo, one place you can catch a buzz, and I didn't want to take any videos when I was in there because it said right on the door, and there was a couple signs that says no videos, no pictures, and I wanted to
That little
respect that.
pocket they got for him.
The little pocket they have for him, the owner's suite, the player's suite. Now, I got to talk to Ryan Smith for probably 20 minutes down there. Talk about a good dude. Yeah, he is a beauty. Nikki took us all in there, and Smitty, he stopped by our table for probably 20 minutes, and then he gave us a full tour of that player's ball like area. So you go in there, and they have probably 5 or 6 chefs. And it's just made to order food. So you can snap in whatever you want to eat after the game. They have a fully stocked bar. No rules in there, baby. You can get doubles, whatever you want. 1 rock old fashions. They had it all. But he was saying that all the NBA guys, instead of going out in town, they just go in there after games. You can bring all your family, all your buddies. If you got birds in there, whatever. And Auzzo, it's a 2-level, 2-story joint. That's like a nightclub. It's like a player's lounge with TVs, speakers, little like lounge chairs. I mean, you literally feel like you're in a nightclub. And I thought the coolest thing about it is when you walk out into the stadium from there's 24 seats that are unregistered to the building. So anyone comes in there, if it's UFC, if it's a concert, they're like, we want all your tickets. And Smitty's like, yeah, take them. Meanwhile, he's got 24 tickets that don't register on the Delta Center arena map because he owns the building.
Sick.
And he put these 24 seats in right there, right off his box. Dude, this room, like, I would never leave it after games. I mean, we were in there at like 1 a.m, and Nick was like, "You guys hungry?" I'm like, "Yeah, a little bit." He's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I don't know, like some wings. And the guy snapped in wings in like 5 minutes and he made them.
That's so National League. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just about time these guys get treated right. And it's so cool, like just hanging out with that guy. Like, I mean, again, like I'm just a pigeon hanging out on a podcast. But if you're one of the players, like Smitty talked to Nick for probably, 20 or 30 minutes. He's like, how was it? Like, what do you think? Like, what do we need? Like, do you need anything else? Like, what do you need to feel like at home? Like, are you guys getting around okay? Like, was that like everything you thought it was in terms of, an opening night? Like, he's just a cool dude, man. Like, he's just one of those guys that's like wants to be one of the fellas. And, he seems like for a fucking billionaire, seems pretty down to earth.
Yeah, he does. Every time you listen to him talk, like he was going, I think he was on, what was it? Like he was on the pregame show talking with the analysts like Messier and PK Subban. He was talking with them. He just sounds like an unbelievable dude. And the fact that how many owners, Jordo, hang out with players and actually like talk to their families and like stick around and like talk with them? Like that can't be like a, average thing. I feel like he's going above and beyond with doing that. Like a lot of the teams, they probably don't even know the fucking owner. They probably met him once at that one dinner that they have, like a gala or whatever, and then they just never see him again. And it's like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And he just like I said, he knows all of his players, like you look at the Cubans of the world, you look at the Michael Rubins, Jerry Jones, for better or worse. But this guy just seems like he has a good balance. Like he was talking about hanging out with Clarkson, during All-Star weekend. He's like, Clarkson told him to roll up to this party. He's like, what time does it start? He's like, 3 a.m. Well, Smitty doesn't drink. He's like, holy fuck, 3 a.m. So he rolled up there with his wife, and he said he like went in there, and it was like this theme party in like just like a private warehouse. Like he said, like one cage, like every room was a cage, and they had all their boys. Like it was like Clarkson's cage, and then he like kind of like maneuvered around. It was pitch black in there, and all of a sudden it's Jod Desert Eagle Morant. He's got his group, and then it was like Kuzma's group. It's just like
sick.
He was just telling us about like just the whole scene of the association and how much different it is than obviously hockey. But it's always funny to get like a non-hockey guy's perspective on what hockey is, and hockey always just goes back to the good dudes and guys that are generally, just good people and, normal guys versus like, not saying NBA doesn't have that, but those guys are a little bit more outrageous.
Oh, for sure. I know he's not a hockey dude, but when I look at him, I feel like he's going to fit in a little better with the hockey dudes, the players, rather than those NBA guys. Because those NBA guys are on a different level. And a lot of the times, if you got skin that looks like mine, you're not going to fit in with that crew because you just don't have that fucking charisma that those guys have.
Yeah, you got to have some juice for sure. And he was just talking about like in basketball that we all know this, but it's just funny to hear it from a guy that's the owner. He's like, all these guys are just their private entity is just their brand. They don't care about we, they just care about me. And it's like, how do I get my 200 million? Where in hockey, it's like, no, I'll take a little bit of less, or, how's the team going to look? Or I'll help this guy out. So the one guy he said though that they brought back was Patty Mills. Patty Mills is a longtime NBA veteran, 15 years, played in San Antonio. So Danny Ainge brought him back into the fold in Utah. So I'm actually looking forward to getting to a Utah Jazz game as well. I think that'll be pretty cool. So yeah, man, it was a good night overall. I thought the most funny thing was so after the game, they did the 3 stars, and everyone played well. It was a great night. Nick had 2 assists. Kell scored. Gunther looked really good. Ingram looked good. Cooley was a good player that night. Sergachev, obviously, who they brought in, there was fights, there was hits, but it's crazy how much they love friend of the show who we've had on, Liam Spicy Tuna O'Brien. There must have been 5 or 6 full-on entire building spicy tuna. Dun, 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 dun. They must have done that 5 or 6 times. He was named 3rd star. He didn't have a point. He had 6 hits. I guess he went to the team service guy after the game. He goes, "Why the fuck was I a star tonight?"
Of course he did. He's like, what the hell is that?
He's like, what the fuck is that?
What do you think? What do you think, buddy? You got the whole fucking stadium chanting your name. That's why, brother.
Yeah. So it was so cool. And I mean, Ozzy, we got to get to a game or like a ski trip there sometime this year or the next 2 years, because it was cool, man. Like you could stay in Park City, especially when there's snow on the slopes.
Mm-hmm.
You could parlay that from a day on the slopes with some Irish coffee right into a match. And yeah, man, it was. I'm really excited for those guys. Dylan Gunther, a fucking hell of a shot. A lot of those guys, they looked really good. And those jerseys, they're fucking nice. Like they're They're real
They are.
crispy. Just Utah right across the
I
front.
like those colors too. I like the colors. It reminds me a little bit of the Maine
Yes.
black bears.
Yeah.
Great colors.
Yeah, you make a great point. So shout out to those guys. Couple clicks. Obviously, that starts with Smitty. Auzzo, I don't know if you watched any of the National Hockey League last night, but just wanted to touch on the Pittsburgh Penguins, the state of the Pens, man. Those guys are old. They played the New York Rangers. We're recording on Thursday. They played them Wednesday night. They go into Toronto on Saturday, and that'll be my lock of the week in terms of the Leafs are going to take the screws to the Penguins. Man, if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins and you're Kyle Dubas, like, what do you do, dude? They brought in like Anthony Beauvillier. They brought in Kevin Hayes. They brought in some of these veteran players. They obviously have their own depreciating assets that have been there forever besides Sid. Malkin doesn't look any faster. Letang is getting older by the day. And Carlson just wasn't skating to the level that we're all accustomed to.
Mhm.
I just don't know what you do in terms of the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's like Sid just re-signed, but it's like, man, I was watching that team last night, and if I'm going to be honest, I mean, I know it was just game 1 of 82, but especially at home for their opener, like they looked fucking horrible.
Yeah, I feel bad for Sid. I think they're almost in a worse spot than the Capitals. Those two teams, they might find a way to claw their way to the playoffs, Jordo, but even if they get there, there's no hope or prayer. It seems like when you watch them. So I don't know what they do, man. It's like you have these legends who, Malkin, Letang, Carlson. How do you let those guys go? But at the same time, it's like some of these fucking younger guys, they're bringing more jam.
Yeah.
Sucks because you're so used to them being the best players in the league, and I don't know. I don't know how you get past that, but I feel like you have to move on from one or two of them at some point.
Yeah, and it's like, what can we get back for these depreciating assets? And Sid's in a weird hole where we just re-signed him. He wants to win. We have to show respect to our captain that's been here for 20 years. And at the same time, the guys we brought in haven't really worked out, haven't panned out. We don't really have any prospects. Our goalie situation is sticky. Is our coach, is the message kind of just running out a little bit? I mean, they've brought in David Quinn, and David Quinn is a guy that it sucks for Quinny because I think he's a good dude, but he hasn't won anywhere he's gone in the National Hockey League as an assistant coach or a head coach. He's been in Colorado when they were dog shit. He's been obviously in San Jose as of late. He was in New York with the Rangers, and now he's in Pittsburgh. It's like, ooh, I don't know what you do there. It's going to be a cleanup on aisle 7 in terms of the Pittsburgh Penguins. But moving over to a sneaky 7, Jessie Campbell. I know we talked about her earlier, but she was looking good, Auzzo. Running the D door for the Seattle Kraken. They look pretty good. They just named Jordan Eberle their captain. So I just wanted to touch on her and, just get some, a couple clicks for her. Going back to Utah just quickly, Gary Bettman was having a beer on the glass. Did you see that? Did you see Gary Bruce Bettman having a Bud Light, having a wrench light right on the glass sitting there next to Smitty? So good to see Gary's not just a milk drinker and kind of enjoy just, some good old-fashioned hockey on opening night.
Yeah, no shit. Gary's fucking having a beer. He just brought the team from a college rink that held 2,500 to 33,000, Jordo, and now they just had this place rocking like it was playoffs. Like, yeah, have yourself a beer, buddy, because that was a hell of a first night, I thought, for that Utah Hockey Club, and it was good to see Gary enjoying it a little bit.
Yeah, that was amazing. Obviously, Gary Bruce in the house that night. Our boy Brock Besser on opening night. What do you have? 1 and 2, Auzzo? They got to manage his. What do you have? 2 and 1?
Yeah.
2 tucks? Wow. Good for Bess. And now he's got that. He's still kind of figuring out his blood clot situation. So is he only going to play home games? Is he like Roger Clemens, or is he going to figure out how to travel with the team and just be doing lunges up and down the bird, like you said on Insta?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it sounds like that's kind of what he's going to have to do. Which isn't the end of the world, just get a little leg workout. Danger Russ is doing it. He's dialed in. But yeah, I mean, it's a scary thing. I think you don't really want to mess around with blood clots, Jordo, and it sucks when you're playing in Vancouver, you're flying a lot. So, yeah, like he said, he's just got to put those Normatecs on, get the compression sleeves on, lunge up and down, try not to go to sleep, not be lazy. I don't know. Hopefully Bess can figure it out because I don't know what he did in training camp. I didn't follow along, Jordo, but I can imagine he didn't play much. He usually finds his way out of that, but fuck, he came out of the gates hot.
Yeah. He usually avoids at least a couple of those games, maybe some fitness testing, and That is the Brock Besser special, as we know. And it always, what ain't broke, don't fix it, baby. So whatever Bess is doing, I know he's a less or more type of guy. Stay on that program, fella. It is working. Lastly, on the National Hockey League front, couple things here. Obviously, I just want to give a shout out to Ray Chicken Parm Ferraro. He did a day-night doubleheader on opening night. He did the Seattle-St. Louis game, and then he went to the Chin of Utah and did Utah HC versus Chicago. So he was in Seattle, loaded up the private bird, got in the black truck, and then went to Utah. So wanted to give a couple of clicks to Chicken Parm, the former Hartford Whaler. Man, did he wear a welding shield back in the day. For a guy that could have played with no helmet on, did he ever wear that welding shield like PK Subban? So I wanted to give him a couple clicks. Mikko Rantanen had a hat trick in an 8-4 loss. Auzzo, did you catch any of that Vegas game? Vegas looked good. Ivan Barbashev, 2 bunks. Mark Stone had 2. And Victor Olofsson, who they brought back over from Buffalo, he had a pair of goals as well. So Vegas is going to be good. If Aiden Hill can stay healthy, that D-core is some of the best in the league, if not the best. Mark Stone healthy. Eichel was skating well. Man, that Vegas team, they're coming because Kelly McCrimmon, he don't fuck around that GM. If you don't play well, you out.
No, that team looks scary, Jordo. And I do have to mention Barbashev's backhand tuck. I mean, did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. What do you think the MPH on that thing was? I mean, that thing had gotten touched 70 maybe. I mean,
yeah,
it was an absolute bullet. How did he get that off? It was insane. Just fucking crazy Russian forearms.
Yeah, I play with Barbie. Barbie's a second-round pick of the St. Louis Blues. We were rookies together in Chicago and then spent a little time together in St. Louis. He's like a fine wine, man. He gets better with age. He's a crafty player. He's strong on his skates. And, yeah, I don't know how many times a day he's tugging, but those forearms, those things are ready to go. And that was an absolute labeled backhand by Ivan Barbashev. So, yeah, that's what we got on the National Hockey League front. Lastly, I've said this 3 times now, but I just wanted to touch on Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel, obviously, Auzzo was trying to play hockey this year, and we were trying to pump his tires to get him a deal because he can still play at a National Hockey League level. I was skating with him this summer. But, fuck, just get Phil a beer because he's going over to the World Poker Tour, and he's going Johnny Chan all in, and I'm sure he ain't scared to give his nuts a tug on the poker tour. You're going to see that guy rolling out the Brinks trucks and putting whatever he wants, Johnny Chan style, all in, going into those poker series. Man, that's going to be funny. Just Phil, I think back in the day and still does, likes to throw it around. So I think it's pretty fitting he's joining the poker tour.
Oh, that's unbelievable. At least, I don't know why, Jordo, but it's not surprising me at all that he's going to be on the World Series of Poker, playing poker professionally. He seems like that guy, doesn't he? You kind of just have you got to have a sack. You got to have you can't care what's going to happen. You got to be dialed in, just even keel. I just feel like for some reason, Philly's that guy I think he's going to do well, man. I know those poker players, it's a skill. Some people think it's a gambling event. You can hear, I mean, there's good poker players out there. Trust me, it's tough. And if you're good, you're good. And for some reason, I just see Phil finding success in doing this.
Oh, 100%. He's one of those guys that he just wins at whatever he does, whether he's gambling, he's on a golf course. He's just not afraid to lose. And if he loses, well, he's just going to double down, triple down, and then get it done. So couple clicks and good luck to Philly Ferda Kessel, Madison, Wisconsin native, joining the poker tour. Good on you, fella. Auzzo, let's get to that Brochan ad read. We'll get to week 6 look ahead, my friend, for our locks of the week in terms of NFL bets.
The old NFL Week 6 look ahead is brought to you by Brochan Sunscreen. Are you tired of your girl hassling you about wearing sunscreen on the golf course? We were, and that's why we created Brochan and simplified the process by conveniently packaging the sunscreen into single-use packets sold on Amazon. Remember, boys, always wear protection. And again, we say it every episode, Jordo, but I just got a mole taken off my back. You can never be too cautious about sunscreen in your skin. Your skin is your biggest organ. Take care of it. You don't want shit to go wrong. A lot of cancers actually start from the skin. A lot of people don't know that. So fellas, buy some of this on Amazon. It's cheaper than regular sunscreen. It's not the whole bottle. You're not going to waste the whole bottle. Check the stuff out. Go to Amazon. Buy Brochan today.
Yeah, 100%. Again, these are single packets, each sold separately. I think you can buy on their website. in terms of, getting a stack of packets. But yeah, if you're on the golf course, you're playing tennis, you're on a hike, obviously it gets sunny. These UV rays, especially in the desert right now all year, Auzzo, they get up there. And I don't want to carry a massive thing of sunscreen around. So get these single-use packs. Go to Brochan.com, check it out. Get at the fellas on IG. Is actually the son of GM and coach of the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders, Mark Carlson. So if you're a hockey fan, if you're a kid that played in the USHL, everyone knows who Carly is. He's been there for fucking ever. So he's one of those legends of the game. So yeah, it's a great company. It's good for you. Go check it out. Auzzo, who do you have for your NFL Week 6 locks, fella?
Yeah, I got 2 for you, Jordo. You're actually going to enjoy one.
Love that.
I think this is my main lock. The Packers at Lambeau, -3.5 versus the Arizona Cardinals. Let me check. Actually, it's 4.5. I'm still taking the Pack at Lambeau. They are not losing 2 games in a row. Did they play Lambeau last? No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
They're not losing 2 games in a row at Lambeau, and I think, the Cardinals are coming off that win against the 49ers. They're hot and heavy. I just think Jordan Love's just going to shred them apart. It looks like he gets better every game after his little injury. He's starting to sling it. So that would be my lock. And then my next one, Jordo, I am going to take the Broncos at home +3 against the Chargers. I think Sean Payton's got these guys going. Bo Nix seems like he's having a pretty good season I didn't expect much out of him, but Sean Payton knows what he's doing. I mean, I don't really like the guy from when he was at the Saints. He seems like a dickhead, but he knows football and he's a good football coach. And you got him as a dog at home with a winning record. I just don't think that's going to go over too well.
Yep. I like that pick, Auzzo. I like both picks. Obviously, Green Bay at home, I think, is going to be a lock. I have the Washington Redskins +7 at Baltimore. I just think that's a lot of points. I do think that quarterback there in Jaden Daniels is pretty good, fella. I think he can sling it around. I think he's crispy.
How is that line +7?
I don't know, and I really like it. So I'm jumping on it. I'll probably move, I would say, come Sunday. Yeah. We'll record on Thursday, but it is right now at +7. Obviously, Baltimore pretty hot right now. Got that win against Joey Burrow last week on a missed field goal and then capitalized in overtime. So I got that. And then we shit on this guy last week, so I just gotta stay with it. I'm taking the Chicago Bears, who suck, and Caleb Williams, who paints his fingernails, at -1.5, 1.5 versus Jacksonville. That's in the London game. So who knows how that game's going to go? Obviously, those fans over there, they just celebrate for field goals. So I would say it's going to be a kicking affair. And somehow I think the Chicago Bears are going to win by more than 1.5. So those are the London games over there. Those are my 2 locks of the week. Washington at Baltimore +7. Chicago -1.5 versus Jacksonville in the London game. So that's what I got there. Auzzo, moving over to one hitters with the captain. And I just wanted to pick your brain because we're losing one of the greatest tennis players of all time. Rafael Nadal has called it a career. The good Frenchman, the good Spaniard, I should say, was unbelievable at the French. The guy on clay was virtually unbeatable for a decade, maybe longer. And I wanted to ask you, for one hitters, where does Rafa Nadal rank in your top 3 tennis players of all time? And give me your top 3 to top 5 tennis players of all time.
Rafa, to me, Jordo, I'll give my respects to Rafa. Unbelievable player. He wasn't the most, obviously he's skilled, but he wasn't the most skilled. That's not why he was elite. He just outworked his opponent, which is, in tennis, it's such a mental warfare, right, Jordo? Sometimes it's a 4-hour match. It's kind of you just outwilling the other guy sometimes because both guys are so skilled. It's like, who's going to beat each other? It's the guy who wants it more. And Rafa just wanted it more than everyone he played for so long. That's why he's got so many slams. So I'll give my roses. I'll give Rafa his roses. He's an unbelievable player, but he is number 2 on my list. Roger Federer, Jordo, is number 1. He will always be number 1. If you go and watch his highlights, I know he doesn't have the most slams. Rafa and Djokovic have more slams. They have more wins. I don't care. Just go watch the tape. I'm telling you guys, go watch the tape. You watch highlights of all 3 of these guys. I think they are the top 3. Joker's my 3rd, Jordo. You go watch
Wow.
all of them.
Joker's
Federer
3.
is, yeah, Joker's 3 for me. But
I like
Federer
that.
is just fucking unbelievable. The one-handed backhand, the class he did it with, his drop shots, he did it in every area. He's the GOAT for me. But Joker 3, and I got Pete Sampras 4. I didn't have the opportunity to watch him much, but just seeing what he's done, and I've seen some highlights. Incredible player. And number 5, I don't even know who I'd pick with this one, Jordo. So I'm going to go Johnny McEnroe just because I love the fucking guy, and he's got the best highlights too. Yelling at the ref, arguing with people. He's got an attitude. Tennis has never really had that. I got to throw him in my top 5. He's probably not top 5. You ask any tennis analyst, he's not going to be in the top 5, but he's in my top 5. So you guys can go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, and I think Johnny Mack was a 7-time major winner. Obviously, some of the guys above that, Andre Agassi at 8. You have Bjorn Borg at 11. But I love your pick with Pistol Pete Sampras. Oh, God, was he crispy. Just watching his highlights, he kind of looked like a young Jay Swish out there. I tell this story all the time. I had an NHL GM, Doug Armstrong, told me one time after my second year pro, I was built like Pete Sampras. Probably not the best thing being a hockey player. What do you want to be, 6'3", 170, going back for pucks? Not the best look, but it is what it is. So he's like, you should have played tennis. I'm like, what? I was a fucking first-round pick. What do you mean? Like, you drafted me 25th overall. I got hands better than anyone on this fucking team. But no, that was always just funny. So yeah, I like your list. I think for me, I think I'm Feds, obviously one-hand backhand. You can't teach that. Never broke a sweat. So crispy. I got Nadal at, I would probably say 3, Joker probably 2. But I've never been a big Joker guy. I'm going to be honest. I just think, if he does have the most, but he is 7 years younger than Feds. Now, if those guys were the same age, or even in the gap was closer, more matches against Feds in his prime, I don't think he has 24 majors. And Djokovic has won. I mean, I'm not trying to slander the guy at all, but like, how many times has he won the fucking Aussie Open? Like, the Aussie Open to me is like the PGA. It's like, really? I mean, it's a major, but it's the fourth major.
It's a Mickey Mouse major. It's a Mickey Mouse slam.
I think he's won the Australian Open 9 times. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times he's won the Aussie Open. So 10 of 24 are on the down under. But yeah, you got to give a couple clicks respect to the Spaniard. Like you said, man, was he a grinder. And one of the sickest things he did, Auzzo, is he rocked that Richard Mille watch. That's a $400,000 watch every time he played. Rafa did. Yeah. Right on the wrist. Obviously, they probably just gave it to him to play with, but oh, he looked so crispy in that thing.
So crispy. He had such good style, too. Just fucking, he was never out of a point. Just an unbelievable player, man.
Yeah, always loved his game. So that is the one hitters with the captain. People's Insider term of the week. That is burger flipper. Auzzo, we all know the guy in the locker room that just flips burgers. You turn one over. You turn a story and you just flip it over and you kind of skew it in a way that you know is not true. You fabricate it a little bit to tell in front of the boys. Usually it's about wheeling. Maybe it's about a night out. Maybe it's about something that, you're just trying to make yourself look a little cooler. And one of the better burger flippers in terms of just a fictional character back in the day was Mo Wanchuk from Slapshot. He is a guy that every team still currently has and always had on your team. It's the guy that comes in the locker room. He tells a story about the night before that's completely untrue, or he tells a story about, some time he had in the summer. And it's like, dude, we all know that's bullshit. Like, that didn't happen.
Everyone knows it's a lie, but you're just like, you don't even say anything.
No, it's like, when you go to Wanchuk, it's like, fuck the barmaid last night. Yeah, the Palm Isle. It's like, no, you didn't, Mo. And then he'll go to the next guy and tell the same story, and it's complete bullshit again. So every team always had that guy, and you'd be talking about it, be like, dude, did you talk to Johnny? Yeah, man, he flips so many burgers. Like, that guy's just a complete burger flipper. So that is always a hilarious term because the guy is always just flipping, and that's one term to use in terms of calling a guy, a liar or whatever it is. But like, that guy, oh, what a burger flipper. So yeah, that is the People's Insider term of the week. Don't be a burger flipper, folks. It's always nice to add a little seasoning to a story, but don't be flipping them out there. So that is the People's Insider term of the week. Auzzo, lastly, before we get this thing wrapped up again, folks, no guest this week. Auzzo on the road. I was on the road earlier this week, so we're just bringing it to you chin on chin. Auzzo Swish, vintage, little tape to tape, like we're at school. Auzzo, nail gun of the week. Who did you have for your nail gun fella?
Yeah, man. I actually, this week I got 3. So two of them were kind of the same. Two of them were kind of the same. One go hand in hand. JT Miller, Anthony Mantha, Gordie Howe hat tricks in the same game, both of them, and they got their fights against each other. So they both got Gordie Howe hat tricks. Unbelievable. One of my favorite hat tricks in the game of hockey. It's where you get a goal, an assist, and a fight in the same game. For those of you guys who don't know what that is, unbelievable opening night for them. And then my third nail gun of the week is this Ashton Genty guy on Boise State, the running back, Jordo. He's putting up fucking Barry Sanders numbers. He's got 95 carries for over 1,000 yards, 16 TDs. Guys like Reggie Bush and King Henry, Derrick Henry, that won the Heisman through 5 games, they didn't even have half the stats this guy has. I mean, this guy is putting up, and he stayed at Boise State after getting tons of offers for NIL from these bigger schools. He says, you know what, money's cool and everything, but I think a legacy lasts longer, and that's why I stayed at Boise State. Absolute nail gun shit. I hope the best for that guy. I can't wait to watch him in the league.
That's sick. And, maybe not the best business decision, but I do love it. And Auzzo, you make those decisions, I tend to think you make it back in some way. Karma, money, life, whatever it is. I think ultimately you do see that money come back to you in a way that maybe you didn't along the way, whether it's avoiding an injury, getting paid in the league, meeting a girl that's becomes your wife. It's just, you always make that back. It's good juju. It's good karma. I'm a big believer in energy this way and out, in and out. And that is one way to be nails, but also just believing in doing the right thing. So I like that call. Also, my nail gun of the week was Arbor Jack Guy, aka Wi-Fi Jack Guy, I believe is his name. Arbor Jack Guy. Did you see his suit on opening night? The fuck you suit. So he had it like pinstriped, but folks, it wasn't pinstripe to the naked eye. It was fuck you written about 1,000 times, not only on his blazer, but his pants to match it. So Wi-Fi came into the building, kissing babies, taking names, ready to throw. I mean, what a complete just maniac on opening night to walk into the Bell Center in Montreal. That is how you make a statement, my friend. The old fuck you. Like, that is so aggressive. Like, Jesus, this guy's nuts.
That's what you can do when you're a heavyweight in the national, though. I mean, you can do anything you want. It's okay. It's so nails. That guy, I mean, even if I'm Spicy Tuna, now I know Spicy Tuna would take him on. He'd have no problem. But even if I'm Spicy Tuna, I'm like, this guy's a psycho. I mean, he's getting up there with the Reeves and what's his name? I'm fucking blanking on his name. And with the Rangers, big boy. Yeah. I mean, oh man, the heavyweight division, Jordo, and I've seen other hockey guys talk about this, but the heavyweight division in the NHL right now, it's alive and it's well, and it's great to see.
Yeah, it's back fully. You have psychomaniacs like the Young Pups and Matty over the top Rempy. You have Wi-Fi chin hunting. You have the old school nail guns and Ryan Reeves, who's been doing it for better parts of 15 years. Nick Delorier, Curtis, Find the Chin McDermott. I mean, there's a lot of nut jobs in the league right now, and fighting.
They can all play too. Most of them can play.
Oh yeah, they can all play. And speaking of fighting, did you see that video of Bruce Buffer that Malt had done for me for my birthday? Now listen, I'm not a big birthday guy. I don't really care, okay? Unless it's like a milestone birthday. I'm not one of those chicks that wants to talk about my birthday for a month or for a week. Now, it is nice when you're around family and you're around your friends to have a couple beers and that call it good. Get a nice meal. Thank you for my birthday, whatever. I don't even really like gifts, Auzzo. It is what it is. It's nice to get some different things. I like giving more than I like receiving. But, man, when I woke up to that, Jake Schmaltz got me that Bruce Buffer cameo, and I saw fighting. I was like, no way. This is one of the most thoughtful gifts I've ever had. So I just want to give a shout out to Malt. I know he listens to all the shows, and obviously we've had him on, reoccurring guest. Dude, that was so sick. He said keep the chin tucked because you can obviously do your custom message. So yeah, that was pretty special, fella. So that was one of the better birthday gifts I've ever received.
Oh, honestly, when I saw it, I was like, that is such a good idea. I didn't know who got it for you. Malty. That's unbelievable stuff. Holy shit. That, like you said, it's thoughtful. Like, that is better than any material gift you could have gotten by far.
Yeah, 100%. It's just like, he knows how much I love Buff, and Herb Dean obviously too, but Buffer is, I one day would strive to do one of those just calls. And yeah, it was pretty cool. And, Ozzy, he's got a pretty big business there. He's got a good thing going. And those things are not cheap. I was looking on Cameo. I think they go for about $350. So Buff, if you could snap off 10 of those a day, even 20, whatever it is. I mean, he's probably just got to announce, and that's about it. He works out. He's got a hot fucking 28-year-old girlfriend. Like, you could do a $10,000 day, no problem.
Easily, yeah. And he deserves it too, because he's the best.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. So, Auzzo, I'm going to let you go here, fella. We went tape to tape, as always. That was crispy. Again, I don't know if you're going to have any service, but if you do find an elk and you do find some service, I would like to see it before you're back. Enjoy it, my friend. Say hi to the Ausmus fellas. And yeah, man, it's sounds like quite the fucking rip you're going to have this week. And I'm fired up for you. And I can't wait to talk to you about it next week when we get back to the screws of things. But yeah, that's going to be awesome, man. It's just getting away for a bit, baby. Let it build.
Yeah, it gives you a little tingle. I'm excited to get away from society for a little bit, refresh, and I'll definitely send you a picture if we get anything, because I'll be fired up too.
Yeah. Okay, my friend. Enjoy that. Folks, again, no guest this week, just tape to tape with the captain and Jay Swish. That was episode number 59 on the goddamn chin. Woo!